Alabama's new abortion law, the strictest in our country, is setting up a direct challenge to Roe v. Wade in the Supreme Court. That's what it was designed to do. Just tonight, Governor Kay Ivey signed into law this ban on abortions at all stages of pregnancy. The only exception here is if the mother's life is in jeopardy. It's similar to new bills in Georgia, Ohio, Mississippi, Kentucky, except it goes further. This law does not include exceptions for rape and incest and carries a felony charge for doctors punishable by a sentence of up to 99 years in prison. Let's be frank and put this another way. A rapist in Alabama would get a lighter prison sentence than the doctor called upon to end an unwanted pregnancy that might result from that rape. This will now be challenged in court, which is ultimately the point.
So in our mind and my mind, this bill is to address Roe versus Wade and to let, hopefully, that decision go back to the states so that states can make the laws that are most appropriate for their people.
And before our conversation here tonight, just a reminder of where the American people stand on this issue. According to this Gallup poll, 79% of adults say abortion should be legal. And for more, we welcome to the broadcast tonight Melissa Murray, professor of law at NYU. She was notably former clerk to then Judge Sonia Sotomayor when the future Justice Sotomayor sat on the U.S. Court of Appeals. She also testified during the Kavanaugh confirmation hearings. And Stephanie Shriak, president of Emily's List, an organization that works to elect Democratic women who support reproductive rights. Good evening and welcome to you both. Counselor, I'd like to start here in New York by showing you what Jeff Toobin said tonight on CNN and then having you react to it.
Donald Trump said in the third debate with Hillary Clinton, if I get 2 or more appointments to the Supreme Court, automatically, that's the word he used, automatically Roe v. Wade will be overturned. And I think the president was exactly right. Roe v. Wade is gone, and every woman in Alabama who gets pregnant is going to be forced to give birth soon. And that's going to be true in Alabama, and it's going to be true in Missouri, and it's going to be true probably in Georgia. And that's what the law is, because that's what the presidential election was about, in part, last time.
Agree or disagree, and why?
So I disagree slightly. I think Jeff Toobin is exactly right that President Trump made a promise to the American people that he would appoint judges who would overturn Roe versus Wade. I testified in the Kavanaugh hearing that that is exactly what I thought Brett Kavanaugh would do. But I think the wild card in all of this is Chief Justice John Roberts, who is not appointed by Trump and who throughout his tenure as Chief Justice has made very clear that he takes very seriously the institutional reputation of the court. If the court is seen as overly partisan, as being captured by the president and the administration, that's not great. The court has already been hobbled by the debacle of the Kavanaugh hearings. There's already a wide swath of the American public who thinks the court is partisan. To decide a question like the continued viability of Roe versus Wade at this juncture, when the court is hobbled in this way, I think would give some pause to Chief Justice Roberts. And again, we've seen that in some other cases from this term, and I think we're likely to see it going forward. That's not to say that abortion is in the clear. I think what we are going to see is the court taking, again, more incremental steps to hollow out Roe rather than eviscerating it entirely. And I'm not sure whether that's even a good outcome for the American people. In fact, overruling Roe entirely would actually have a galvanizing effect that would take this into the 2020 election and would really put it to the American people. And I think that's exactly what Chief Justice Roberts doesn't want.
That's for sure. Stephanie, let's talk about the intersection of politics and law. And for you, I'm going to play a graduate of the Yale Law School named Pat Roberts.
I think Alabama has gone too far. They've passed a law that would give a 99-year prison sentence to people who could commit abortion. There's no exception for rape or incest. It's an extreme law, and they want to challenge Roe versus Wade. But my humble view is that this is not the case we want to bring to the Supreme Court, because I think this one will lose.
Pat Roberts' son, Yale Law School graduate nonetheless. So, Stephanie, that's an interesting notion that this piece of legislation, hand-carved to go to the Supreme Court, is, in his view, even too severe.
Well, the truth is that the Republican Party is completely focused on figuring out how to overturn Roe v. Wade. I think that is the important part of this. And this Alabama bill, now law, is clearly unconstitutional and is so damaging for women. But there are laws coming out of Georgia, out of Ohio, out of Mississippi. We've had over 30 measures, I believe, passed this year through legislatures by Republican legislatures, anti-choice Trumpian legislatures that are driving this to overturn Roe. And I think what's most important here is the number you started with. 79% of Americans believe that Roe v. Wade should stand as law of the land as it is today. And so for the moment of galvanizing, I believe what happened yesterday in Alabama, what happened last week in Georgia, has ignited a new fire across this country in so many women and men who care very, very deeply about this and want to ensure that women have access to reproductive justice. They are trying to ban abortion completely. That is not where the American people are. And I do think this will be a major issue in the 2020 election. And we're talking about an election that I believe could be an electorate of 54% women. And I think we're going to see even higher turnout over this. But here's the bigger point. It's not just about politics. Women are getting hurt right now in states where there is barely any access already. And we have to really think about the policymakers that are sitting at our decision-making tables making these laws. And it is for us to stand up and find the good candidates who are going to fight for reproductive justice and to fight for women and hold these folks accountable. Legislatures matter. And I think every voter in this country has to think about who's representing them today. And I'm proud to be at an organization that is completely committed to electing pro-choice Democratic women. We need more now than ever, and it is time.
All right, Councilor, take 30 seconds. When Toobin says women are going to have to carry a pregnancy to term, explain to our viewers, does this supersede in any states the law of the land until and unless there can be a challenge to the holding of Roe versus Wade?
So in states that have more liberal abortion laws, those laws will remain in place. As Terry Collins, who is the Alabama legislator who introduced this bill, said, the whole point of this is to make laws that are appropriate for the people and the citizenry of each particular state. And so this is Alabama's take on it.
Okay.
It does not necessarily affect individuals in New York. That said, there will be a lot of reproductive tourism if this law goes into effect in Alabama. And by that, I mean, you're going to see women in Alabama becoming reproductive refugees, fleeing to other states where there are more liberal and more accommodating abortion laws. So, I mean, this really does change the landscape. And Stephanie's exactly right. The whole purpose of this and the activity that we've seen around abortion in this term has really been about this change in climate. They anticipate a more hospitable court, whether that's at the Supreme Court and the lower federal courts, and they are legislating to put this issue in front of the judges.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.